You think you're being kind. You think you're being strong. You think that helping others is what makes you a good person. But what if I told you this? Most people don't burn out from helping. They burn out from helping the wrong people. The ideal ones who take but never transform. The ones who cry but never change. The ones who always say thank you but never mean it. And maybe deep down, you felt it. That quiet resentment. After doing too much, that sinking guilt. When you say yes while your soul is screaming no. You throw lifelines, but they swim back into the storm. You fix problems that they created and will create again. You try to rescue people who never wanted to rise, only to pull you down with them, and yet you keep helping because you were told that love means sacrifice, that goodness means self-erasure. But what if that's a lie? What if true wisdom is knowing who not to save? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll finally understand why. The most loving thing you can do for certain people is to stop saving them. Let's get one thing clear. This video isn't about becoming selfish. It's not about turning cold. It's not about abandoning the people you love. It's about waking to the truth that the way you give might be destroying you, because there are people in your life who don't want your help. They want your energy. They want your attention. They want your time, but not your truth. And every time you show up, they take, they drain, they pull you back into cycles you swore you'd break. Today, we're going to walk through 10 types of people you should never try to save, and why the Stoics would want you to protect your peace before trying to fix their chaos. Some of them are obvious, some of them look like victims, and some of them might be hiding inside the people you love most. But stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just see others differently, you'll see yourself differently, and you'll finally know when love means stepping in and when wisdom means walking away. Meet Daniel. He's the one everyone calls when life falls apart. Family crisis. Call Daniel friend spiraling again? Daniel will listen. Partner in meltdown? Daniel will drop everything. He's the rock, the helper, the emotional life raft for people who refuse to learn how to swim. But here's what no one sees. Daniel is drowning. His sleep broken, his dreams on pause, his spirit quietly eroding from the weight of carrying people who were never meant to ride on his back. He keeps patching their holes, while his own boat slowly sinks. And the worst part, every time he asks for space, they guilt him. Every time he pulls back, they pull harder, because they're not looking for growth. They're looking for hosts. And here's the Stoic truth. It's not your job to keep someone afloat who's committed to their own sinking. Just like Daniel, you might be mistaking rescuing for real love. But love isn't carrying people who refuse to walk. Love is knowing when to stand back, so they're forced. Stand up. You are not their savior. You are not their solution. And if they won't save themselves, they were never yours to save. Type number 1, the unchanging. You give them advice, you give them time, you give them second chances, and then a third and a fourth. But they never change. They nod, they cry, they promise. But next week, they're back. In the same spiral, same drama, same excuses. And if you're honest, you already know they don't really want to grow. Because change requires effort, and effort requires accountability. And accountability scares the hell out of them. So instead, they cling to you, use you as their therapist, their fixer, their fallback plan, and little by little, you become a tool, not a person. Here's the Stoic response. Don't waste your wisdom on someone who only wants your presence, not your truth. Help is only powerful when it meets someone willing to rise. Your practice? Say less, do less, and let Consequences do the talking, because some people don't need a rescuer, they need rock bottom. You are not cold for stepping back. You are clear, and clarity is what creates real transformation. So stop dragging them uphill, let them walk, or stay where they are. Because change can't be forced from the outside. Type number 2, the manipulator. They don't ask for help directly, they frame it. They cry just enough. They share half the truth. They make you feel like the only one who can fix it. At first, it feels like connection, but soon, you realize they don't want solutions. They want control. They want to tie you in emotionally, morally, even spiritually, until saying no feels like a crime. You feel guilty for having boundaries. You feel responsible for their problems. You feel exhausted. And yet, somehow, still feel like you haven't done enough. That's not compassion. That's emotional manipulation. Here's how the Stoics would respond. Clarity over obligation, truth over people-pleasing. If someone's pain only shows up when they need something from you, that's not connection, that's control, your practice. Pay attention to how they act. When you gently say no, do they respect it or do they escalate? Because the people who truly care will honor your limits. The rest will test them. You don't owe explanations for protecting your peace. You don't owe energy to someone who plays you like a chess piece. You can still love them and still step back. Because real love doesn't need manipulation to survive. Type number 3, the victim who refuses to help. They've been hurt, they've been abandoned, they've been through hell, and they never let you forget it. At first, you feel empathy. You listen, you support, you offer space, time, kindness. But then months pass, years, and nothing changes. Because here's the truth, no one wants to say out loud. Some people don't want to heal. They want to stay broken because it gives them power. Being the victim gives them identity, it gives them excuses, it gives them attention without needing to grow. So every time you try to lift them, they find new ways to pull the weight back down. They don't want solutions, they want sympathy on repeat, and it's slowly turning you into their emotional servant. The Stoics would say, pain is real, but so is responsibility. Your wounds aren't your fault, but healing from them, that's your job. Here's your practice. Stop overgiving to someone who never takes a step forward. Ask, are they honoring their healing or milking their story? Then step back with compassion, but also with clarity. You're not heartless for protecting your energy. You're wise for recognizing the difference between support and codependence. Because not everyone who's hurting wants to rise, and not every wound should become your mission. Type number 4, the entitled. They never say thank you because they believe they deserve it. Your time, their right, your energy, their resource, your sacrifices, bare minimum. And here's the worst part. The more you give, the more they expect. The more you stretch, the more they demand. There's no gratitude, no effort, no reciprocity, only this quiet, suffocating assumption that you owe them. Why? Because you've helped before. Because you're the strong one. Because you always say yes, and slowly you go from giver to servant, from compassionate to invisible. But here's the Stoic truth. You don't owe people your energy just because they've gotten used to receiving it. Love is not obligation. Kindness is not currency. Here's your practice. Set the boundary, then observe. If their respect disappears, when access is removed, it was never respect. Let go of guilt. Let go of the fantasy that your constant giving will one day earn their gratitude. Because the entitled don't grow through comfort. They grow through consequences. And the day you stop feeding their expectation is the day you start reclaiming your power. Type number 5, the repeater, who loves the drama. They don't want peace. They want excitement. They want a crisis, even if they have to create one. Every time you talk to them, it's a new fire, a new betrayal, a new emergency that needs you. But when you offer real advice, they ignore it. When you suggest calm, they stir the pot again and again and again. Because here's the secret, they're addicted to the chaos. Drama gives them adrenaline. It makes them feel important. It fills the space that silence would expose. But you keep trying to fix their world like it's broken. When really, it's exactly how they want it. And that's the trap. You keep showing up, thinking you're helping. But in truth, you're just another actor in their emotional soap opera. The Stoics would say, withdraw from the spectacle. Don't be pulled into madness just because it's loud. Your practice, stop engaging the fire. They secretly love lighting. Say less, detach faster, and remember, your presence should never be the fuel for someone else's dysfunction. Because peace isn't boring, it's liberation, and the moment you stop performing in their theater of chaos is the moment you start writing your own script. Type number 6, the competitor in disguise. They act like they care. They smile when you win, but it never reaches their eyes. They offer advice that subtly cuts you down. They share your struggles. Not to support you, but to feel superior in your pain. You think they're a friend, but deep down, they're keeping score. And every time you grow, every time you shine, they feel a little smaller. So they undermine, they joke, they tease. But it's never really light-hearted. It's a mask for something darker. Because some people don't want to see you fall. They just want to make sure you never rise too far above them. Here's the Stoic response. Protect your energy from subtle warfare. Not all enemies throw punches. Some of them just clap a little too softly. Your practice? Observe. How do they react when you evolve? Do they celebrate you or tense up? Do they share your joy or compete with it? Then ask yourself, why am I keeping someone close who secretly wants me small? Because here's the truth. A real friend doesn't flinch when you rise, they rise with you. And anyone who only feels powerful when you feel low was never on your team to begin with. Type number 7, the narcissist. At first, they're charming, magnetic. They make you feel seen like no one else ever has. But soon, that spotlight turns to interrogation. The warmth turns to control, and your world becomes about them, their moods, their needs, their validation. You stop speaking your truth because you're afraid of their reaction. You walk on eggshells just to keep the peace. You twist yourself into something smaller just to be enough for them, and still, it's never enough. Because a narcissist doesn't want love. They want supply, they want worship, they want to be the center, even if it means erasing you. Here's what the Stoics would remind you. No person deserves the power to define your worth. Your value is not measured by how well you perform for someone who can't even see you. Here's your practice. Notice the patterns: gaslighting, emotional highs and lows, love bombing followed by blame. Then ask yourself, am I in a relationship or a role? Because the narcissist doesn't love you. They love the version of you that makes them feel bigger, and you'll never be safe in a connection where your silence is the price for temporary validation. Walk away, not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself more than their illusion. Type number 8, the ungratefully. You show up, you sacrifice, you bend over backwards to make their life easier. And what do you get in return? Silence, criticism, entitlement. They don't say thank you, they say, why didn't you do more? They don't appreciate the effort. They focus on what you missed. They treat your generosity like an obligation, and over time, you stop feeling generous. You start feeling resentful. Here's the harsh truth. Ungrateful people don't just drain your energy. They train you to believe that your love is never enough. The Stoics would say, don't tie your virtue to the applause of others. Marcus Aurelius, because true giving comes from alignment, not from guilt. Here's your practice. Pull back. Watch how they react. If they get angry when you stop overgiving, that was never love. That was expectation. You are not a machine. You are not a servant. You are not here to be judged by someone who forgot what effort looks like. Protect your kindness. Reserve it for the ones who see it, feel it, and value it. Because gratitude isn't just good manners, it's the only currency that makes love sustainable. Type 9, the energy vampire. They're not always loud, they're not always dramatic, but every time you leave a conversation with them, you feel drained, exhausted, like something was taken, and that's because it was. They don't want to connect. They want to dump. They want to dump their pain, their fear, their problems onto you over and over and over. No boundaries, no curiosity about your life. Just an endless monologue that leaves your nervous system fried. They may not be malicious, but they are exhausting because they've never learned to self-contain their storm. The Stoics would say, let silence be your refuge. Let emotional chaos pass through you, not into you. Here's your practice. Start noticing how your body feels after talking to them. Tense, heavy, like you need to recover. That's not a coincidence. That's your intuition. Screaming. You can have compassion without being their dumpster. You can listen without being their therapist. And you can care without being consumed. Because your peace is not a donation. It's your responsibility. Guard it wisely. Type 10. The dependent. Who refuses to grow? They lean on you for advice, for comfort, for answers. And at first, it feels like love. It feels like trust. But over time, it starts to feel like a burden because no matter how much you help, they stay stuck. And worse, they stop trying. Why grow when you'll always pick up the pieces? Why solve when you always offer the solution? What you thought was support became enabling, and what they call need is just dependency, masquerading as closeness. The Stoics would tell you, help others, but never at the cost of their own courage. Because when you always carry them, you rob them of their strength. When you always decide for them, you rob them of their clarity. Here's your practice. Start letting them struggle, not out of cruelty, but out of respect. Because the people you truly love deserve a chance to prove something to themselves. And if they won't rise without you holding their hand, then maybe they never wanted independence, they just wanted a crutch. Let go, so they can learn to stand. Let go, so you can breathe again. Because your purpose is not to be their permanent ladder. Sometimes love means letting them fall, so they finally learn how to get back up. Let's be honest. Some people will never stop draining you until you finally stop pouring. Some people don't want healing. They want attention. They want your energy without ever offering growth in return. And that's not your failure. That's your clarity. Because true wisdom, the kind the Stoics lived by, is knowing the difference between helping and enabling, between being compassionate and being consumed. You are not heartless for protecting your peace. You are not selfish for saying enough. You are evolving. You are awakening. You are choosing to stop saving people who refuse to swim. If this video helped you breathe a little deeper, feel a little clearer, and stand a little taller, subscribe and keep building this stoic clarity with us. Drop a comment below. Which type of person are you finally ready to stop saving? And what boundary will you reclaim? And when you're ready to go deeper, watch this next video. How to master emotional detachment. The Stoic way to inner strength. Thanks for growing stronger, wiser, and a little more stoic today.